have my other bio.
I have it. You can update it by. Our speaker today is Stephen. Stephen is a spiritualist medium, educator, and historian based in Rochester, New York. He began his mediumship development in his teens and has since cultivated an extensive background in spiritualist literature, philosophy, and teachings from diverse traditions. Stephen serves as Vice President and Education Director of the Rochester Spiritualist Society, where he facilitates a monthly mediumship development group. Alongside his work with the Society, he maintains an independent practice offering spiritual consultations, healing, and coaching. A passionate historian, Stephen focuses on preserving the lesser-known history of spiritualism in Rochester, New York, honoring forgotten spiritualist churches and pioneers through research and public education. Featured in podcasts, articles, and books, he is a recognized voice in the spiritual world, sharing insights on mediumship, religious history, and contemporary spiritualist practice. And his topic is Imagining the Year Ahead. Stephen, please welcome.
Before I start, I want to just say a couple of things. Normally when I give a talk, I usually tie everything in with history, and this is not going to be one of them. This is going to be me kind of just talking about some things that I've been kind of reflecting on for a while. And something I first want to do is actually to say thank you to Dale for introducing me to kind of the concept of vision boards and stuff that we have been doing. We just had a class on a vision board workshop that we've been doing 5 years, 4 or 5 years or something at this point. When I was first introduced to the concept, I did not believe in it at all. I thought it was ridiculous. And I went to the workshop and did some of the vision board stuff, and it was just, not only did it work, it was just profoundly helpful. And this kind of tied in with some other things in my life that were going on involving health, physical health, mental health, and things like that. And I kind of started reading some books and stuff that dealt with kind of manifesting and self-reflection and things like that. And I kind of realized in kind of with today's theme with joy and happiness and things like that, I was being very mean to myself for a very long time. I kind of slowed down and paid attention to how I was talking to myself and thinking to myself. It was very, very harsh, very harsh. And so I started reading some books at the suggestion of several different people. And there was this one book in particular that was recommended to me, and it kind of just changed the course of just how I think at this point. And it is, I'll hold it up. It's The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. And it's this teeny little book, very, very tiny little book. And it was written probably 1919 or something like that. It's very old. But it's so relevant to just life and how we think in today. And the whole point of kind of the book is just, it sort of tells you that you need to pay attention not to just what you're saying, but just how you say it, how you think, and just how important that is for just living in general. And so this little talk that I'm about to just give, because I always have to write my talks down, because if I didn't, I would talk forever. So this is my way to limit myself. But it's all kind of just a reflection on that book. So today, I want to talk about life as a game, but not a game of competition or comparison. It's not about measuring ourselves against others. I actually had heard of this book several years ago, several times. A lot of people I know quote for it. But what kind of got me off from it was the idea of what I thought it meant by game. I was thinking it meant kind of like you have to win, like winning in a very competitive sense, but that's not what it is. What it means by a game is it's a game we play with our hearts and minds, and a game whose point is simply to enjoy it and flourish. Florence Scovel Shinn said, "Most people consider life a battle, but it is not a battle, it is a game." she wasn't talking about struggle or stress. She was talking about play, like the concept of play, of playing, the kind of play where we step in and try things and allow life to teach us as we go. When we play this way, we stop standing on the sidelines, worrying or second guessing ourselves, and instead, we participate. We imagine the life we want and we act as if it is already possible. In this sense, the game of life is about putting our thoughts and imagination to work for us, to bring harmony, guidance, and abundance into our everyday experiences. This game is not meant to wear us out. It is meant to energize and awaken us, and the first step in playing it is the imagination. The practical tool that allows us to plan, dream, and take small steps every day toward the life we want. Florence Scovel Shinn reminded us, "Keep thy heart, your imagination, with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." It's actually a Bible verse that she kind of paraphrased. She was pointing out something very simple yet powerful. What we imagine and believe shapes the life we live. Imagination is not about escaping reality or living in fantasy. It is a practical tool, a creative faculty through which infinite intelligence works in our lives. As Shinn famously said, imagination has been called the scissors of the mind, which is kind of like a little shout out to the vision board crafting we did. Think of scissors for a moment. They don't make material out of nothing. They cut shape and give form to what is already there. In the same way, our imagination takes the possibilities around us, these opportunities, ideas, and guidance from spirit, and shapes them into real experiences. Shinn also taught, whatever man feels deeply or imagines clearly is impressed upon the subconscious mind and carried out in minutest detail. In other words, what we focus and believe strongly eventually finds its way into our lives. This isn't, I initially, when I first heard that, was a bit skeptical, but the way that she explains it, it's actually scientific, psychological, and not just kind of wishing. If we want to see positive change, the first step is simple: to carefully choose the pictures we hold in our mind. Picture the life we want, act as if it is already possible, and trust that our imagination, guided by spirit, will help bring this into reality. This is why simple everyday practices like making vision boards, journaling, crafting, painting, knitting, scrapbooking, or even just playing creatively are far more than hobbies. They're spiritual exercises because they engage not just what we think, but how we think. To understand this, it helps to see the mind in three practical levels, which is how Florence Scovel Shinn describes this. First, there is the conscious mind, the choosing mind, the surface mind. This is where we decide what we focus on, what we imagine, and what story we tell ourselves each day. It's the part that quietly asks, what am I thinking right now, or what picture am I holding in my mind? Second, there's the subconscious mind, the building mind. This part doesn't argue or critique. It simply takes in what we give it and begins shaping our habits, emotions, and experiences. This is why Shinn said, whenever man feels deeply or imagines clearly, is impressed upon the subconscious mind and carried out in the minutest detail. If you tell yourself every day that you are a miserable, sad person, you are probably going to be a miserable, sad person. It just is absorbed into your subconscious and you've just accepted it because that is what you're telling yourself. If you tell yourself you are happy, eventually it will shift your mind. Obviously there is more to it. There's chemical imbalances and things like that, but cognitive behavioral therapy is a thing, which I'm not going to get into because I'm not certified to do that, but look it up. Third, there is the intuitive or spiritual mind, the level where infinite intelligence and our higher spirits communicate with us. This is the part that speaks through inspiration, symbols, impressions, and gentle inner guidance. It becomes most active when we are relaxed, open, and willing to receive. When these three levels work together, life flows more easily. The conscious mind chooses what we focus on, the subconscious mind builds it into our habits and experiences, and the spiritual mind guides us with inspiration and insight. Imagination and playful creativity are the bridge that connects them all. When we visualize, dream, and play, we give our mind something joyful and positive to work with, helping our thoughts, actions, and spirit all move in harmony. This is why learning how we think is just as important as learning what we think. Thoughts are not neutral. they shape our lives. That to me was one of the most important things that I learned, was the things that I was telling myself, the harshness of it, I was writing off as jokes, but when I actually looked to how and what I was saying, they weren't neutral. They were very, very negative things that I was affirming, and you kind of have to slow down and really pay attention to the things that you're saying. Fear, doubt, and limitation can create conditions as surely as hope, joy, and imagination can. Spiritual growth is not accidental. It is a daily practice of choice. Each day we decide, what kind of thoughts will I feed my mind? What pictures will I hold in my imagination? And what kind of inner world am I going to build? When we consistently choose positive thinking, imagination, and creative play aligned with spirit, we give infinite intelligence something constructive to work with. And over time, these choices create a life of greater harmony, purpose, and blessing. Most of us learn the power of imagination naturally as children, which Dale, one of the things that you mentioned about how it was children laugh 40% of the time and adults are 15 or something abysmal like that. And to go back to kind of that idea that we kind of had as children, some of us built entire worlds with Barbies or G.I. Joes. Some of us lit up possibilities with light brights, reshaped our reality over and over with an Etch-a-Sketch. Many of us sat on the floor surrounded by Legos, snapping pieces together, taking them apart, and imagining what could be built next. Even as kids, we understood something very important, that creation is flexible. What we imagine can be changed, refined, and improved. And the imagination is not fragile. It's strong, durable, and ready to be used again and again. Yet somewhere along the way, many of us were taught that our imagination is only for children, that once we grow up, it should be put on the shelf and forgotten. But that is a mistake. Imagination is not childish, it is a lifelong spiritual tool. Spiritual maturity does not mean imagining less. It means imagining more wisely, more intentionally, and more in harmony with higher truth. Just as we refined our Lego creations as children, figuring out what fit and what didn't, we are meant to refine our imagination throughout our lives. We practice it, strengthen it, and we unfold it. Imagination becomes prayer, imagination becomes vision, imagination becomes a way to work consciously with spirit to create the life we are meant to live. As we step into a new year, many people talk about resolutions, things they want to fix, change, or give up. But Florence Scovel offered something more gentle and more profound. She taught us to begin with our imaginations, or what she called the spiritual heart. The time of the new year is not the time to regret our past or harshly criticize ourselves. It is the time to dust off our imagination that we put on the shelf, open our hearts, and begin to dream again. To ask ourselves, what do I long to express? What kind of life brings me joy, peace, and meaning? And just as importantly, what thoughts, images, and ideas can I fill my mind with each day that spark joy, inspiration, and hope? Shin reminded us, man must prepare for the thing he has asked for when there isn't even the slightest sign of it. That preparation begins inside by holding a clear, loving picture of the life we want to live, and by filling our minds with images and thoughts that uplift us. This is the first step to a happy, fulfilling life, to visualize the good we already sense within ourselves, to see ourselves as guided, supported, and unfolding in harmony, and to play the game of life by stepping into that picture with trust and confidence. So I encourage all of you to take your imagination off of the shelf and open up your spiritual heart today. We are never alone in this. As spiritualists, we know that higher powers and infinite intelligence work with us when we align our thoughts and imagination with truth. When we hold a vision with joy rather than strain, spirit moves with us and for us, often in ways we may not even see. So as the new year begins, the invitation is simple. Play the game of life, let yourself dream, and imagine boldly. Trust that infinite intelligence will help bring into your life, in the right and perfect ways, the blessings that are already seeking expression through you. Thank you.